There's a force that silently shapes the course of your life. It doesn't crash through your door, it waits quietly behind it. It wears 1,000 masks: fatigue, perfectionism, distraction, not the right time. You don't even notice it at first, but over days, weeks, years, it steals something you can never get back: your potential. And by the time you realize it's there, the damage has already begun. This force is called procrastination. But what if we've been thinking about it all wrong? What if it's not just a lack of discipline or bad time management? What if procrastination is something much deeper, something philosophical? Because the truth is, you don't delay because the task is too difficult. You delay because it forces you to confront something inside yourself, your fears, your doubts, your excuses. And that confrontation makes you uncomfortable, so you avoid. And in that avoidance, you lose. Not just time, but your own evolution. Most people treat procrastination like it's just a bad habit, something a planner or productivity app could fix. But the Stoics knew better. They saw procrastination as a form of moral failure, a moment where reason surrenders to impulse. Not because you're weak, but because you're disconnected from your purpose. As Chrysippus of Soli, one of the early architects of Stoic thought, taught, to live in accordance with reason is to live in accordance with nature. And when you procrastinate, you step away from that alignment. You trade what is meaningful for what is easy, what is necessary for what is comfortable. You give in to the impulse that says, later, and you drift further from who you are meant to become. Ryan Holiday puts it in modern terms: action is the antidote to fear. Procrastination is the assassin of opportunity. It's not about finishing everything today. It's about reclaiming your role as an agent of your own life. The Stoics weren't productivity coaches. They were warriors of the mind. And they taught that the most powerful act is to begin, not because it feels good, but because it's right. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, reminded his students, "It is not the task that overwhelms us, but the opinion we form about it." This insight is everything. The problem isn't the work. It's the story you're telling yourself about the work. It's the idea that you must feel ready, that the conditions must be perfect, that your energy must be high. All lies, all traps. Because the moment you make action dependent on emotion, you become a prisoner to your moods. Here, at the Stoic Lighthouse, we don't give you empty motivation. We offer you something deeper: philosophical clarity. The kind of clarity that guided emperors like Marcus Aurelius through war and chaos. The kind that pulled Viktor Frankl through the horror of concentration camps. The kind that's available to you right now if you're willing to think differently and act deliberately. If you've ever felt stuck in your own hesitation, like you're watching your life from the sidelines, then this is your moment. Hit like, subscribe, step forward. Because in this video, you won't just hear about procrastination, you'll learn how to dismantle it from the inside out. By the end, you'll walk away with a simple but powerful technique passed down through the centuries, used by slaves, soldiers, philosophers, and leaders to break through inertia and step into action, not through hype, but through reason, through discipline, through a commitment to living well now, because this isn't about tasks, it's about the kind of person you are becoming every time you choose to act or not. Number 1, what procrastination really is. You think you're just putting things off, but procrastination is far more insidious than that. It's not simply a delay, it's a moral detour, a quiet rejection of the life you claim to want, because what you avoid isn't the task itself, it's the discomfort it demands. You avoid the emotional friction, the tension between where you are and who you need to become. And every time you choose that avoidance, you pay a price, subtle but real. You may not feel it in the moment, but it accumulates, not just as guilt, but as identity. Procrastination disguises itself as rest, but it rarely refreshes you. Instead, it numbs you. You scroll, you snack, you drift. And what you're really doing is choosing comfort over character, ease over integrity. The Stoics were clear: anything that pulls you away from what must be done is not neutral. It's destructive, because it erodes not just your time, but your sense of self. As Donald Robertson, a modern Stoic psychotherapist, explains, procrastination is a clear example of failing to exercise our reason in pursuit of virtue. And without reason, the Stoics believed, you cease to be fully human. According to Chrysippus of Soli, man must act in accordance with reason, not impulse. This was the foundation of Stoic ethics. The idea that a good life isn't one of passive comfort, but of deliberate, rational action. Procrastination, then, is not just bad time use. It's a form of existential disorientation. You've lost your philosophical compass. You're floating in noise, distraction, and fear. And fear is often what sits at the heart of this delay. Not laziness, not boredom, but fear of what your effort might reveal or fail to achieve. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of your own potential. As Epictetus reminded his students, it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we hold about them. When you tell yourself, I'm not ready, I'll do better later, or this feels too overwhelming, what you're really doing is shielding your ego. You're creating narratives to protect yourself from discomfort, at the cost of your evolution. Ryan Holiday puts it bluntly, you think you have time, but you're wasting the only thing you can never get back. This is why checklists and productivity hacks often fail, because the issue isn't technical, it's philosophical. Procrastination is the byproduct of a life drifting without clarity, a mind seeking comfort instead of truth, a soul that's forgotten its own direction. That's why we must stop trying to out-hustle procrastination and instead outthink it. Because once you see it clearly, not as laziness, but as an internal resistance to becoming your highest self, it loses its grip. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into why we crave comfort and how the Stoics saw it not as a reward, but as a poison. You'll see why comfort is never neutral and how its hidden cost might be the very thing that's been draining your purpose. Number 2, the comfort trap, according to the Stoics. Have you noticed how easy it is to avoid hard things the moment something comfortable is within reach? You sit down to work, and suddenly, checking your phone feels urgent. You plan to write, but the couch calls your name. The task didn't change. You did. Or rather, your attention was hijacked, not by laziness, but by a culture that's trained you to chase comfort like it's a virtue. But comfort, when unchecked, is not your friend. It is the enemy of your evolution. It promises relief, but delivers stagnation. The Stoics understood this long before smartphones and streaming platforms existed. They saw the seductive nature of comfort and warned against the spiritual decay it creates when left unexamined. According to Seneca, the life we receive is not short. We make it so by wasting it. We don't run out of time because we're busy. We run out of time because we fill our days with meaningless distractions. We avoid challenge and trade progress for passive consumption. And over time, that pattern hardens into a lifestyle, one where growth becomes rare and regret becomes routine. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it quietly kills ambition. It teaches you to seek pleasure instead of purpose. And worse, it dulls your tolerance for discomfort. So when difficulty inevitably shows up, as it always does, you no longer know how to face it. You flinch, you flee, you freeze. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, believed that virtue could only be achieved through reason, and reason is sharpened not by ease, but by resistance. He taught that every time we choose the harder path, the one aligned with discipline and purpose, we reclaim a piece of our humanity. According to Zeno, only by aligning our actions with nature and reason can we find true freedom. Choosing comfort too often is a refusal to evolve. It is a silent contract we sign with mediocrity. Because comfort numbs the will, it teaches us that we are entitled to feel good instead of obligated to do good. And in that shift, we begin to forget what we're capable of. Massimo Pigliucci, a modern Stoic philosopher, explains this trap clearly. Modern comfort is the enemy of Stoic virtue. It makes us forget that we are here to become better, not just to feel better. This is not a call to reject all pleasure. It's a call to remember that comfort has a cost. It drains your sense of urgency. It softens your discipline. It teaches you to wait for the perfect moment, which never comes. And while you wait, your goals quietly expire. Comfort and procrastination are not separate forces. They work in tandem. One feeds the other, and together they trap you in a cycle of avoidance disguised as rest. So reflect. How many chances have you let pass by because it felt easier to do nothing? How many steps toward your future self have you delayed because today felt too heavy? This is not just about work. It's about the person you're training yourself to become. The mind that prioritizes comfort over growth becomes allergic to challenge. And a life allergic to challenge is a life allergic to purpose. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the Stoics believed your freedom begins the moment you choose action over avoidance. We'll break down a concept they called Prohairesis and why it holds the key to reclaiming control over your life. Number 3, action is freedom, understanding Prohairesis. Why do some people act with resolve even in the face of fear, while others collapse at the slightest resistance? The Stoics believed the answer lies in one powerful concept, a word that has almost vanished from modern conversation, yet holds the key to your inner freedom. That word is prohairesis. Prohairesis is your ability to choose how you respond, no matter what life throws at you. It is your inner command center, your core. And here's what makes it extraordinary. Nothing outside of you can touch it. Not failure, not rejection, not pressure, unless you give it permission. According to Epictetus, what is truly in our power is our prohairesis, our ability to judge and act with wisdom. This idea is revolutionary because it tells you that freedom doesn't begin when your problems disappear. It begins the moment you stop being ruled by them. Your fear of failure? Not in your control. Your will to show up and take the first step? Always within reach. When you surrender your prohairesis, you become reactive. But when you guard it, you become grounded. Procrastination happens when you abandon this control, when you allow your impulses, your moods, your distractions to dictate your direction. But the Stoic doesn't wait to feel ready. The Stoic acts because it is right to act. Musonius Rufus, teacher of Epictetus, emphasized that philosophy must translate into behavior. That knowing what is good is useless unless it leads to doing what is good. According to Musonius, to philosophize is to learn how to act. Knowledge that does not lead to action is wasted. And that is where most people fail, not in knowing what to do, but in choosing to do it, over and over, despite discomfort, despite delay, despite doubt. In our modern language, Ryan Holiday reframes this beautifully. You don't control the world, but you always control your response to it. And that response is everything. Let that sink in. So every time you say, I don't feel like it, you are surrendering power. You are placing your potential in the hands of emotion. But when you act from duty, when you move from a place of clarity rather than desire, you reclaim the authority over your own life. This is not about perfection, it is about consistency. The Stoics didn't seek to erase emotion, but to master their responses to it. They believed that self-command was the highest form of freedom. So the next time you feel resistance, remember this. You don't have to feel confident. You don't have to feel inspired. You just have to act in alignment with what you know to be right. That is Prohairesis in motion, and once activated, it becomes a habit of the soul. In the next chapter, we'll translate this inner power into a simple daily technique. You'll learn how to break the procrastination cycle using a core Stoic principle known as the dichotomy of control. Number 4. The Stoic technique. Control what you can. Procrastination is like carrying a heavy backpack you never put down. Every undone task, every decision delayed, every intention unfulfilled. It weighs on your mind more than you realize. But the Stoics had a question they used to lighten that load, and it's brutally simple. Ask yourself right now, what part of this problem is actually under your control? Most people never pause long enough to consider that. They drown in anxiety over outcomes, judgments, deadlines, or what others might think. But none of that is truly theirs to command. The Stoics taught that the path to inner peace starts with a clear division: what depends on you and what does not. According to Epictetus, some things are up to us and some are not. Happiness depends on understanding this distinction. This idea is not theoretical, it's tactical, because the moment you focus only on what is yours to act on, procrastination loses its grip. You're no longer overwhelmed by the scope of the mountain. You simply take the next step, and then the next, because that is what is within reach. The modern mind gets paralyzed by trying to control everything at once. But Stoicism teaches that power is found in narrowing your focus, not expanding it. Do what is yours to do, no more and no less. Let go of the outcome. Anchor yourself in the process. Musonius Rufus echoed this same truth when he said, "We must not wait for the right moment. We must make the moment right by choosing to act now." This is how the Stoics lived. Not someday, not when it's convenient, but now. Because now is always within your power. The next action, the next sentence, the next breath, that is your domain, that is your field of mastery. And when you shift your energy to this narrow field, something powerful happens. You stop feeling helpless, you stop making excuses, you stop wasting emotional energy on what is outside your influence, and instead you begin to move forward one clear decision at a time. In contemporary language, Ryan Holiday simplifies this principle. You don't have to finish it all today. You just need to take a step, then another. That is within your power. This is where real execution begins, not in massive, overwhelming plans, but in the quiet discipline of identifying what is yours to do and doing it. No more negotiation, no more delay. You break procrastination by creating momentum through micro-action. It's not about how much you do, it's about doing what matters, when it matters, which is always now. So the next time you feel paralyzed by the size of your responsibilities, stop and ask, what part of this is mine? What can I act on in this moment? Then do that, no matter how small, because the identity of a Stoic executor is built in these moments. You stop avoiding, you begin to build, and with each small act, you shift from someone who delays to someone who does. In the next chapter, we'll confront one of the biggest modern lies, the idea that you should wait until you feel ready. You'll discover why the Stoics always began with duty, not desire, and how that mindset alone can transform the way you face your day. Number 5. Start with duty, not desire. One of the most seductive lies of the modern world is this: only act when you feel like it. Wait for motivation. Wait for clarity. Wait for inspiration. It sounds gentle. It sounds respectful of your emotions. But the truth is, that mindset is quietly destroying your potential. Because if you only move when you're in the mood, you'll spend most of your life standing still. The Stoics saw this clearly. They didn't wait to feel ready. They believed that action, done from principle, not emotion, is what defines strength. And that's why procrastination is so dangerous. It teaches you to obey feelings rather than lead with values. But feelings are inconsistent. They rise and fall like the tide. Duty, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't care how you feel. It just asks one question: what is the right thing to do now? According to Marcus Aurelius, when you rise in the morning, tell yourself, I will do the work that is mine to do, as a rational and social being. This was not a motivational mantra. It was a reminder that even emperors facing war, disease, and betrayal did not get the luxury of waiting for perfect conditions. They woke up and acted, not because they wanted to, but because they were committed to something higher than emotion, the role they had to play, the duty they had to fulfill. Marcus didn't write those words for an audience. He wrote them for himself, in moments of exhaustion and overwhelm, to remember who he was and what he stood for. And this is the pivot most people never make. They want results, but they want to feel good while getting them. They chase motivation, not momentum. But as any Stoic would tell you, motivation is optional. Discipline is not. Discipline is the muscle you use when your emotions fail you, and it begins with a simple but powerful act, doing what you said you would do, whether you feel like it or not. As Massimo Pigliucci reminds us, desire comes and goes, duty remains, maturity is acting out of duty. There is nothing glamorous about this. It's often quiet, repetitive, unnoticed. But this is where your character is forged, in the hours when you want to quit, in the mornings when you feel numb, in the evenings when distraction calls your name. You don't become great in rare flashes of inspiration. You become great in the repetition of right action, chosen over and over again, despite how you feel. Think of all the things you've been putting off. The workout, the writing, the conversation, the decision. Now ask yourself, what are you waiting for? A feeling? An ideal moment? The perfect alignment of energy and enthusiasm? The Stoic would answer, none of that is needed. The only requirement is that the action is right, that it is aligned with your role and your purpose. Then it must be done. Full stop. This is the mental reframe. You don't act when you feel like it. You act because it's who you are choosing to be. You train yourself to begin, and then, paradoxically, the desire follows. Action creates emotion, not the other way around. As Ryan Holiday puts it, if you only act when you feel like it, you won't act often enough. True freedom begins when you act even without feeling like it. And that is the secret. You light the fire by showing up. You generate momentum by moving through resistance. You don't sit around waiting for motivation. You become the kind of person who no longer needs it. Because your identity is grounded in something stronger, the discipline of duty. In the next chapter, we will unlock one of the most counterintuitive Stoic techniques. You'll discover how imagining failure, visualizing the worst-case scenario, can destroy your fear and awaken the urgency to act now. Number 6. Negative visualization as a catalyst for action. What if the reason you're procrastinating isn't because the task is too difficult or that you're not disciplined enough, but because deep down you believe there will always be more time? This is the illusion that silently destroys people. They say later with confidence, as if later is promised. But it never is. And the Stoics knew this. That's why they developed a practice designed to break through that illusion. It was radical, uncomfortable, and it worked. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. The modern world tells us to stay positive, to visualize success, to focus on the outcome we want. But the Stoics flipped that on its head. They told us to visualize loss, to confront in detail what would happen if we continued to delay. Because when you see what you stand to lose, truly see it, the illusion of time collapses, and what's left is urgency, clarity, action. According to Seneca, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. We think time is slipping through our fingers, but the truth is more painful. We're giving it away, minute by minute, hour by hour, not to purposeful rest or meaningful connection, but to scrolling, worrying, avoiding. And if you could see the consequences of that in real time, you would never delay again. That's what this practice is about, seeing your life for what it really is, fragile, finite, precious, and using that awareness not to create anxiety, but to ignite boldness. Donald Robertson, modern Stoic and cognitive therapist, explains it this way: visualizing loss connects us to the urgency of life. It reminds us that every choice has a real cost. So, here's the technique. Think about what you're avoiding right now. The project, the goal, the decision. Now close your eyes and ask, what happens if I never do it? Who do I become if I continue to wait? What opportunities die quietly every day I delay? Most people avoid these questions. They run from them, but a Stoic stares directly at them, because only in that confrontation do we become fully awake. When you embrace premeditatio malorum, the fear of acting is replaced by a deeper fear, the fear of never becoming who you could have been. That fear is not paralyzing, it's activating. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of wars, grief, and political chaos, wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This was not pessimism, it was precision. A reminder that life is not something you own. It's something you're borrowing, and the return date is unknown. When you truly understand this, you stop waiting for the perfect mood. You stop bargaining with time. You move. The tasks you once labeled boring or difficult now feel urgent. Not because they changed, but because you did. You woke up. You remembered that delay isn't neutral. It's a choice with consequences. Ryan Holiday puts it plainly: death teaches us to prioritize, and those who prioritize don't procrastinate. That's the gift of this practice. It turns fear into fuel. It transforms vague intention into sharp commitment. Because once you know what's at stake, you stop indulging the voice that says, maybe later, and you start answering with, now, while I still can. In the next chapter, we'll bring all of this into daily practice. You'll learn how to take these Stoic ideas and turn them into a routine, a discipline that rewires your behavior and builds the identity of someone who executes no matter the conditions. Number 7, daily practice. Becoming a Stoic executor. Knowing what is right changes nothing. Only doing transforms. And this is where many fall short. They consume wisdom like entertainment. They highlight quotes, bookmark insights, nod in agreement. But when the moment to act arrives, they hesitate. They delay. They return to the very patterns that keep them stuck. The Stoics had no patience for this kind of philosophical tourism. They believed wisdom was not a theory to admire, but a discipline to embody. Every single day. And that's what this chapter is about, the daily grind, the part no one applauds, the practice of showing up repeatedly with intention and integrity. Because action without consistency is chaos, and Stoicism is the opposite of chaos. It is order, focus, clarity. That's why becoming a Stoic executor is not about bursts of energy, but about routines that ground you when life tries to pull you off course. According to Epictetus, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. This isn't a poetic suggestion, it's a demand. If you say you value discipline, then act with discipline. If you claim to seek virtue, then make your choices reflect that. Identity, for the Stoic, is not built by what you believe, but by what you repeat. Every day, in the ordinary moments, you are either building alignment with your values or drifting away from them. And this is where procrastination hides most effectively, not in big decisions, but in the tiny delays. The unread message, the workout skipped, the journal left blank. Each one seems small, but each one is a signal to your brain and to your character about who you are choosing to be. Chrysippus of Soli taught that virtue is cultivated not in rare heroic acts, but in everyday behaviors. Moral excellence is revealed in the most ordinary choices. So you don't become a Stoic executor by doing something extraordinary. You become one by making your bed with purpose, by starting the task when your mind screams no, by writing one paragraph even when inspiration is gone. These moments don't just build habits, they build self-respect. Because the person who acts despite resistance becomes the person who trusts themselves. And that trust is the foundation of execution. Ryan Holiday captures it in one sentence. Discipline is not about doing big things occasionally. It's about doing the small things right all the time. So how do you begin? Start with one habit, one commitment to act immediately on a task you'd normally delay. Set a time. Keep it sacred. Do it regardless of mood. Reflect afterward. Ask yourself, did I act with clarity today or with impulse? Did I follow reason or excuse? Over time, this repetition shapes something deeper than productivity. It shapes your posture toward life. You no longer drift, you direct. You no longer avoid, you assert. You no longer hope, you execute. So don't look for magic. Don't wait for a breakthrough. Live this philosophy where it matters most, in the rhythm of your day. Because every time you choose to act with purpose, you move closer to your potential. And the more you repeat it, the more natural it becomes. In the final chapter, we'll bring everything together. You'll revisit the principles, absorb the core message, and walk away with one final reflection that could change how you face the next 24 hours and every day after. You've made it here. That already separates you from most. But what you choose to do next, that's what will separate you from who you used to be. Because what you've heard in this video isn't just a series of thoughts about procrastination. It's a confrontation with a deeper truth. This isn't about unfinished tasks. It's about the parts of your life you've been postponing, the version of yourself you keep putting on hold. And every time you delay, you're not just avoiding effort, you're avoiding evolution. Let that settle. The voice that whispers, "Do it later," may sound harmless, but it's stealing more than time. It's stealing self-respect, integrity, fulfillment. Because when you choose comfort over responsibility, you send a message, not to the world, but to yourself, that you're willing to accept less than what you're capable of becoming. According to Seneca, life is long enough for those who know how to use it. Using it well doesn't mean chasing everything. It means choosing with intention. It means remembering that freedom doesn't come from doing what you want, but from doing what's right, especially when it's hard. You've seen now that procrastination is not a surface-level flaw. It's a failure to live in alignment with your highest principles. But the Stoics have given us tools. You've learned that comfort, though seductive, leads to decay. That duty, not desire, is the true foundation of action. That prohairesis, your ability to choose your response, is your deepest source of power. That visualizing loss is not morbid, but clarifying. And that identity is forged through consistent, rational action. As Epictetus taught, don't expect things to happen the way you want them to. Want them to happen the way they do, and you will find peace. This is the posture of the Stoic executor, not someone who waits for perfect circumstances, but someone who moves in spite of them, who lives with eyes wide open, who accepts discomfort as the price of growth and clarity as the compass for all action. So the next time your mind says, "Not now," respond with, "Now is all I have." The next time you feel resistance, act anyway. The next time you catch yourself hesitating, ask, what would a Stoic do in this moment? Then do it, without drama, without delay, without negotiation. Look at the task you've been avoiding. Name it. Picture it complete. Imagine the version of yourself that finishes it. The quiet pride, the regained confidence, the discipline you rebuild with one simple choice. To start. Not tomorrow. Not when it's easier. Now. Drop a comment and tell us, What's the one action you're committing to today? Declare it. Make it real, because action declared in public becomes a promise, and promises build identity. If this message resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone else who's stuck in this silent cycle of self-sabotage. You might be the spark they need. Here at the Stoic Lighthouse every week, you'll find a callback to who you're capable of becoming. Let this light guide you towards stillness, strength, and truth. Before you go, here's something to think about. Our next video will take you inside a powerful routine practiced for over 2,000 years. A set of simple yet profound habits that helped Stoics sharpen their discipline, boost their clarity, and start each day with purpose. The title? The morning ritual that ancient Stoics used for mental clarity and peak performance. This is not just theory, it's a battle-tested blueprint for daily strength. Don't miss it. And I'll leave you with one final reflection. Procrastination is the soul's delay. But action, real, grounded, deliberate action, is what awakens it. And the awakened soul changes everything. Until next time.